Well, it's Thursday, and you all know what that means. As you probably know, Ring of Honor is going to have some amazing matches taking place. So we're going to see who's going to be appearing, who's going to, of course, be improving ground matches or whatever they're going to do. So get ready for that. And then we move on with TNA, of course. As you probably know already, we are now in the aftermath of Genesis. Mike Santana retained the championship, but the real question is, where do we go from there? JDC, as you know, officially retired also on Genesis, but the question is, who is his replacement? So we're going to see a lot of things taking place since then. So buckle up. And then, of course, we'll wrap up our episode with some news updates to give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of wrestling, such as what events the promotion's thrown out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to the Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK. In the world of pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information is unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us. So click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, enough of the jibber jabbers. Let's get to it. So let's begin with Ring of Honor. Alright, Ring of Honor. So we opened up with the premier athletes, Tony Nese and Aria Davardi, being in company with, of course, that weasel, Smart Mark Sterling and Story Denali. They take on Tommy Billington and Adam Priest. Now, of course, as you know, Adam Priest and Tommy Billington were dealing with the fact of the betrayal of Jay Lethal when he attacked Bandito. But however, this match I have to say was a great opener because we all know the kind of things what Smart Mark Sterling tries to do. He actually distracted the referee, giving time for Stormy Denali to choke slam. I think it was Adam Priest, but backfired. It did not work because he kicked out of it. But I have to say it was in fact who was it? Oh yeah, Priest that was able to pick up the win onto Nese, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Basically, they won. However, of course, you know, like the old saying goes, "What a loser can't stand losing." So they decided to put on some diapers and cry about it by attacking both Billington and Priest. But they were later joined by Swirl, Blake Christian, and Lee Johnson, along with Jay Lethal, in order to get payback for their interference. But sooner or later, it became a 7-on-2 type of scenario. But sooner or later, of course, Billington and Priest will get their revenge on Swirl one way or the other. Now, our next match, we have Satnam Singh taking on two guys. Now, I have seen him firsthand, even in person, when AEW came here to San Diego, Satnam Singh did challenge two guys. So you can tell that it was like that. He faced against Josiah John and Dante Leon. So he just double chokeslammed both, and then stockpiled both of them, and just like that, put his foot on top. 1, 2, 3, it was done. Simple. Now, Alec Price and Jordan Oliver, the latest signees, well, as you probably know, they take on Crew, Leo Rush, and Action Andretti. Now, of course, Crew had their mindset with the arrival of the Rascals making their presence known. So that kind of sets it up right there for everyone. But, of course, it was a pretty good match. Not going to lie. I mean, there was some great high flying spots you probably didn't want to miss. But unfortunately, the double team by Crew to take out Alec Price ended right there, and it was Leo Rush that picked up the win by pinning Price. 1, 2, 3, done. Next up, we have the Outrunners and Dalton Castle once again teaming up. They take on Ozzy, Hit, and Gino Medina. So obviously, we all know that the Outrunners and Dalton Castle, their true aim is for the ROH World Six-Man Tag Team belts, which obviously is a good point for them to obtain. And of course, we all saw how this was going to end. It was Gino Medina that at first got the "you son of a bitch" elbows, and then of course the Bangeram by uh, Dalton Castle, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it's over. So it's only a matter of time until Dalton Castle and the Outrunners are now in a line of sight of Shane Taylor Promotions. Now, Deanna Purrazzo, as you know, well, she is talked about. She just went and did a video promo talk about Madison Rain. How of course, it really saddened to see that she made her decision to retire. But now she realized she cannot just stay and weep about it. That she has work to do. Try to make the women's pure wrestling division what it is now. So she decided to set up an open challenge. It doesn't matter where or when, long as she gets the challenge. I'm sure there's going to be a stack of people that want to get in. So we'll see how that turns out. Now, we do have a proving ground from the ROH Pure Wrestling title. Lee Moriarty faces against Daddy Magic. Now, I don't know if Daddy Magic has ever done anything like this before, because that's something that's like unknown to me as a wrestling fan, because I pay attention to some wrestlers how the styles are. But he did try to hold up as possible, but unfortunately he ended up on the Border City stretch, and just like that, it was over. But during the Code of Honor handshake, he was attacked by Shane Taylor Promotions, trying to send a message. But luckily, Skyflight showed up to even the score. But of course, Shane Taylor Promotions just ran through the hills. Now, our next match is a women's uh, tag team. London Dior and Rachel Ellering taking on uh, Billy Starks and Diamante, the minions of Athena. Well, obviously, we all know this was going to go into the favor of Diamante and Billy Starks, but it was Diamante that picked up the win. She applied like a somewhat of a modified ankle lock that became very effective. Now, I don't know for sure if she's one of those people that want to aim for the ROH Women's Pure title. That's the thing that we still don't know. But if she does, then that's how it plays out. Our next match, we have Brian Keith and Big Bill taking on KM and Will Allday. Now, obviously, this match was going to go in favor with Big Bill and Brian Keith, and it was, of course, a big boss man slam onto Will Allday by Big Bill, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was done. Then our main event, Johnny TV takes on Ace Austin. I thought it was a pretty good match. I thought many people might have thought in their way that Johnny TV, since he is the most experienced wrestler, was going to win. No, Ace Austin was able to turn around, but I'm sure he had to keep an eye on Tail Valkyrie because she was going to interfere in some ways, but it did not work. But he was able to apply the fold to take out Johnny TV, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, over. I have to say, pretty good show. I enjoyed it. So I think that's pretty much it for Ring of Honor. Let's move on with TNA. Okay, TNA. Now, as you all know, we entered the aftermath after this past weekend with Genesis. So the real question we ask ourselves, where do we go from here? So let's find out. Now, the entire match started up with Cedric Alexander and Moose. As you probably know, these two guys just recently ran into each other this past weekend in what was supposed to be an X Division title match, which had to be postponed due to Leon Slater having visa issues. Well, it went on. But this time we are going to see Cedric Alexander versus Moose. Now, obviously, we believe Moose would have had the opportunity to pick up the win. But somehow Cedric Alexander was able to overturn it, and he picked up the pinfall. 1, 2, 3, done. Now, Mike Santana, as you know, he is still retained his championship after he defeated Frank Kazarian last week on the debut of AMC, and retaining it during, of course, a ladder match that took, I think it was no ladder match or a street fight, whatever took place into the whole thing. But now, as you know, he is determined to become the fighting champion and all of this and that. Now, we did see the Order 4 having an interview with Gia Miller. As you probably can guess, they are determined to get back on track. As you probably remember what happened, they took out, of course, Elijah with the guitar in order for Mustafa Ali to win. And of course, they're sending a message to anybody that stands in their way to prove the point that change has to be made. But Mustafa Ali will deal with Jeff Hardy later on. Now, our next match, we have M versus Indy Hartwell. As you probably may not know, I did not see this match. It was part of the pre-show. Indy Hartwell kind of got caught in the crossfires of M by Elegance, and this whole match ended like that. But however, of course, we did see interference from coming from that Chihuahua, Mr. Elegance, and Heather. And because of that, it did not work one way or the other because Indy Hartwell was able to overcome it and picked up the win. And of course, we did see attacks from the Elegance brand. Ash by Elegance tried to reason with them, but they refuses. And here comes Zaya Brookside. Um, Everybody else, Zaya Brookside and Li Yingling to handle it, but later turned out it was a trap from Ash by Elegance. They're trying to set their numbers, that they are the ones in control, of course, of the Knockouts division, and of course, whatever Mr. Elegance is going to do. And of course, they gloat about that later on. Now, our next match is a feast or fire match. Now, for those who are not familiarized with this, you get a couple of briefcases, and these briefcases contain one of them will contain you're fired, so basically you're gonna be let go, and the other, of course, is whatever championship you have. You can title. It could be the X Division title, the tag team belts, and of course the TNA World title, whatever comes in. But the results of that will be next week. But here's how it goes down. The first person who picked up the first briefcase was, of course, Eric Young. I forgot to mention, once you have the briefcase pulled down, your feet has to be on the floor. It cannot be on the mat. And then, of course, we did see Steve Macklin, of course, get the other one, but he played a very smart one where he used that in his advantage by tossing it to his opponent and then catching it back and going on the ground. I thought that was smart. Then Trey Miguel got out of it. He got the briefcase number 4. And then finally, Eddie Kingston, who had the final one, but apparently his teammate, Brian Myers, was there with them. So he sacrificed himself in order for Eddie Edwards to get this one. So we'll see where that goes from there. Now, Mike Santana was on his way out until Nick Menick got into his face. And of course, the one thing that Nick Menick should do is keep his mouth shut and do not cross the line. So he talked about his daughter, and of course, it led into a brawl. Obviously, we will see those two sooner or later, but the real problem, of course, for Mike Santana, he knows that Nick Menick has the College Shot Gauntlet trophy. So the real question is, when will that happen? And I'm sure Mike Santana will be on high alert over that. Now, Nick Menick went to the back complaining like a little girl while some of the wrestlers were having time playing video games. But of course, Nick Menick act like he thinks he's the lead locker room leader, but of course, no one's taking him serious, not BDE. So he's telling him, how about this? You and me next week. So it's going to happen. Now, Elena Black, as you know, who made her appearance not too long ago, she is the first signee by Daria Ray. Her intentions are that she is going to of course, dominate the Knockouts division and make it the era of Elena. So that's the thing that we're going to be paying attention. So the real question is, will she be making a play for the Knockouts title? So that's something we will see. Now, of course, Santino and Dyer were in fact in the back. First, it started out great until, of course, Ariana Grace showed up, kind of apologized to Santino. Now, I'm sure some people are going to say this is a trick coming from her because we know the NXT are calling TNA as a cancer that needs to be plucked. Well, we'll see what happens down the road for them. Now, Mustafa Ali taking on Jeff Hardy. I thought this match was good. But of course, we're going to see the dumb hands getting involved, and so is Tasha and that big dumb idiot, of course, Agent Zero, or should I say Agent Numbnuts. So basically, that's what they've been doing. They even tried to get involved, but the one thing that was crazy is that they brought in the steel chair, steel steps, in order for Mustafa Ali to break Jeff Hardy in half, but he overturned it and used a twist of fate on him, breaking his neck and back, which is something that he did not anticipate. And of course, Mustafa Ali diverted himself away from the Swanton Bomb. Then he applied the 450, thinking it was over, but it did not. But however, that's when we heard, that's right. Elijah showed up, and I think Mustafa thought that it was over between them, but nope. It did not until, of course, Jeff Hardy took him out with the Swanton, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it's over. So wouldn't be surprised if Mustafa decides to complain and bitch next week and thought this was over, but nope, it will never be over. Now, we did see the Righteous do a video promo once again with their cryptic ways about the Hardys. They're intending to make them see the light, or should I say, their version of the light. So we'll see about that. Now, the entire event ended with the system, as you know. JDC is saying, that it was his last time. He enjoyed it, but at the same time, he had to pick his replacement, and who we picked, I did not expect it, and I think many of you may not, and that is Bear Bronson. And I thought it was a very good choice. And then when we thought things were going well, the unthinkable happened. Eddie Edwards low blowed JDC, and then they attacked Moose. Alicia was confused, like, what the hell, They were beating him up. And however, Cedric Alexander showed up. We thought that he had Moose's back, but nope. He attacked them out of nowhere. And then, of course, Eddie Edwards had to go, saying that they were not just introducing one new member. They're introducing two. And it turns out Cedric Alexander is the latest member. So it seems now, because of their slogan, like, trust in the system, well, seems that's what happened. So looks like Moose is out. So we'll see what happens next week. I'm sure Moose is going to get, of course, a bit of a measure of payback for what Eddie Edwards backstabbing. Now, in the past, we all know that Moose have turned his back on Eddie before, and now it's reversed. So we'll see where that leads us. So let's end this episode right now with our last and final thing, news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news updates. As always, let's begin with upcoming events. First, we have, of course, with West Coast Pro, as always. As recently, of course. As you know, they'll be in LA once again for the Evil Empire on the 27th of February. They just announced Adrian Quest will be participating, which, of course, many of you may know this. This is his home turf. And then, of course, as you remember, I mentioned that West Coast Pro will be involved in WrestleMania week, part of the new initiative event that we'll be doing. And they just announced their latest show called West Coast versus the World that will take place on the 16th of February. And they just announced already their first participant coming all the way from the Yoshi promotion, Marvelous. Miyu Momono will be participating. It's great to hear that she'll be participating on this one. Now, on to, of course, some Jersey Championship Wrestling updates here. As you probably remember, on the 1st of February, they'll be having their Superpower Slam. They just announced Alley Catch will be, of course, participating. And then don't forget, they will be participating in the Jersey Jersey J Cup that will go to the event. Now, first round matches have been announced. The first one we have, of course, the Progress Wrestling World Champion, Man Like Doris, will take on Oro, or formerly known as Oro Mensa. Uh, Darian Bennington will take on Judas Icarus, and then finally we have Jonathan Gresham will take on Adam Priest. That's going to be one heck of a match. GCW will have their they have announced for the Arizona event, Phoenix, Arizona event on the 14th of February. Holy smokes! The match has been announced. Joey Janela will take on El Fantasmo, so that's going to be what fun match to go through. And then finally, as you probably may have heard about the double event that will take place with Canadian promotion Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling for the Global Wars. They'll take place on the 27th of March and then Uprising on the 28th of March. It was announced that the current AEW National Champion Ricochet will be participating, so I'm pretty sure we will see him involved in both promotions, and possibly the AEW National title will be defended. So we'll see more about that. Moving on to our developments. Now, many of you remember I mentioned that there's been talk about Powerhouse Hobbs, that he just recently signed with WWE. Well, Fightful Select has now confirmed 100% yes. Powerhouse Hobbs is now signed with WWE. Now, it's still unclear when he'll be debuting. If any plans are going to put him in the NXT brand, we don't know, because some people will say, why does he need to go to NXT? He should go to the main roster. That's something that many people probably would have hoped for, but that's WWE's decision, but that's how we see it. I mean, we did see Ray Phoenix and Penta and Dominic are the only ones who, in fact, um, oh yeah, and AJ Styles, they were the ones that never went to NXT, so hopefully we get that, but we'll see what happens. Now, many of you may saw that I mentioned Trey Miguel appeared, of course, on TNA. In TNA. Well, it's now been told that TNA re-signed him again. As you probably remember, he was released from the company not because some problems that he had towards Tony Khan or anybody. Basically, this was done by the network themselves because of a controversy that happened almost 6 years ago. So we'll see. We weren't too sure, but that was the case. But it seems now he went back to TNA. I don't think anybody expected it, but it did. Now, interesting news. Fightful Selects reports that Gallus, Joe and Mark Coffey, along with Wolfgang, they were at the AEW backstage this past Wednesday. Obviously, maybe Tony Khan is planning to resign them. We don't know what's the situation here. People would say, "Oh, they're backstage. That means they're going to sign." We don't know for sure. We know that Tony Khan would like to be impressed with wrestlers. We know that Gallus were released out of nowhere when they were sent to Evolve after that, but we'll see. Bishop Dyer, many of you know him as Baron Corbin. Well, it was just told that he was involved in a dark match this past Wednesday in AEW. So basically, he made his debut. Now, it's still unclear whether he is signed or not. We don't know exactly what the extent is of his participation in this dark match, or if Tony Khan has any interest in hiring him. I know that there's a lot of wrestlers they're trying to hire, but that's pretty much what we do know. So we'll see about that. Now, Ortiz just recently had an interview, and he just talked about he and Eddie Kingston are planning to open up a wrestling school together. And this is what he said. Let me pull it up for all of you, from what he says. He says, me and Eddie are in the process of opening up our own wrestling school. Coaching and teaching, immense passion of mine. I love because I have so many great mentors in wrestling, and I want to pass on that knowledge. I don't want it to be wasted, and I want to help cultivate a change in wrestling culture. I am thirsty to learn more, and then I'm learning through teaching. So this was on the unrestricted podcast interview that they have. So yes, so I have to say it's pretty cool. We don't know yet when will that happen, but we'll see. Now, finally, many of you may remember not too long ago, Saki Kashima has announced her retirement. But Mayu Iwatani, someone who's familiarized with her well, and the one person that Kashima betrayed, well, had some things to say regarding about that, her thoughts. I was surprised. The news just came upon naturally, right? I saw the headline and she said it was casually, and so I thought, so that same time come. She was always beat up, so I thought, finally, huh? People are gradually leaving from the top, aren't they? And it's my turn. It is my turn soon. I wondered. She was practically the same generation as me and someone of similar age who I interacted with. Thinking about that makes me wonder if it's about time for me to retire too. I think making that decision must be tough when you let a let it go of this job, the job of pro wrestler, which is nothing fulfilling. I think it was able to make a decision because she has something next, and I think the happy thing I want is to quit soon too. You know, the thought of retirement sometimes crosses my mind, but I said the same thing 10 years ago, and I'm still doing it now. So maybe I'm still doing it 10, 20 years from now on. So yeah, it's surprising that Kashima, who is still young, I think for her it's like, I don't know, but we'll see where that goes from there. But hopefully Mayu doesn't think this through completely if she plans to retire. I mean, she's been around for a long time, but yeah. So anyway, I think that's pretty much it for now. Let's call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode coming up. Well, I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do. I'm maybe considering catching up with the recent New Japan's events, the Road to New Beginning. I'm behind on that. I might do that. Let's see how things will go. If there's anything else, we'll just have to wait and see. But as of right now, we'll leave things as it is. But until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye, and have a nice day. Bang.